Hold the door! What's the matter? Hold the door!
Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 1, The Red Woman. Jon Snow lies dead in the snow as his wolf howls. Sir Devils finds him along with Ed and a few others who are his true ride-or-die friends, unlike the traitors who stabbed him to death. Later on, the Red Woman shows up to visit. Sir Alistair admits to killing Jon, and they yell and call him a traitor, etc. Meanwhile, he should be dealt with for what he's done, and instead they all let this man continue to talk and persuade them with his foolery. Ramsay ends up mourning his girlfriend who is killed. We don't feel any remorse for Ramsay because he's a sick person. Sansa and Theon are on the run. Brienne shows up to save Sansa and Theon from the Bolton army, and she offers her services once again. Love Brienne, that's babe, she's a total babe and a warrior. Cersei finds out her only daughter is dead, who returns back with Jaime but is dead because of the Sand Snake woman. The main clan mother gave her that kiss of death. I actually felt bad for Cersei here at this moment, losing Myrcella, even though Cersei was like, I don't know where she came from. She was so sweet, basically saying that unlike her, Myrcella was good, sweet, and kind, etc. And unlike her other kid, Joffrey, but that witch did tell her that her kids would die, so she was cursed from the very beginning, to be honest. Margaery is locked up in the cells like a prisoner, and the High Sept, the High Sparrow guy, he has the nerve to say, like, she needs to confess and isn't perfect yet. He has her locked up in a cellar. That Snake's scene is up next, and they killed the king and the guard, and she ends with basically the notorious line, weak men will never rule Dorne again. Next, they come for the sun. Dario and Mormont have a talk while searching for Daenerys about how Mormont loves her and she doesn't love him back, and how they both wish to see the world once she conquers it. And they learn that the Dothraki have Daenerys after finding her ring in the ground. Daenerys is told she will have to go live out her days with the other widows. Arya is out being a beggar, a blind beggar. The girl comes to fight and beats her up with a stick, her nemesis. Sir Alistair comes to threaten Sir Devos and tells him and Jon's men that they basically have until nightfall or so to decide whether or not it will end in blood. Red Woman shows her true self, which is old, worn down, and tired. So, episode 2, Home. Opening scene, Bran and the old guy sees Hodor and his father and Uncle Benjen. We learned that Hodor previously talked and that his name is Willis. Meera is told that Brandon Stark needs her for basically what's to come by the Children of the Forest. Sir Devos and the others are ready to go all out with Sir Alistair and the Night's Watch, but then the wildlings show up to help, the real squad. Jaime is threatened by the Septon while mourning his daughter, Myrcella, and he backs down when the Septon's people basically show up, and the Septon says, alone we are poor and powerless, but together we can basically take down an empire. Tyrion decides he's gonna go feed the dragons. He ends up unchaining them and letting them free to roam and eat. Arya and her foe go at it, and Jaqen Hagar ends up showing up. Ramsay Bolton in the next scene stabs his father to death and kills him. After hearing about the newborn baby, he then sicks his hounds on the mother and the baby to be killed and eaten. Sick. Theon and Sansa say their goodbyes, and Theon's dad ends up being murdered by the uncle Euron. And the sister is basically like, okay, well, I'm up next to rule, but then everyone is against it because she's a woman. And lastly, the Red Woman is asked to do her magic on Jon Snow, and nothing happens till the end. Once everyone is out of the room, he ends up waking up. So, episode 3, Oathbreaker. Jon Snow wakes up. He's officially back from the dead. Davos asks what he remembers, and Jon's like, they stabbed me. Ollie put a knife in my heart. Jon is shocked by his brother's actions, and basically their betrayal hurts him. Jon reconnects with his old crew, the Wildlings, or should I say, like I said, his real crew, because the men of the Night's Watch were garbage. Next up, Sam and Gilly are on the boat on their way to Sam's family's home. Sam basically is seasick. A flashback of Bran is shown of him seeing his father's fight and almost die, but is rescued by the guy with him who is Mira's father and the one who actually saves Ed by stabbing his foe in the back. Arya Stark heads to the tower where the screaming woman is, and Bran tries to go, but the old guy is like, "You are not ready." Next, Queen Khaleesi is captured and stripped of her clothes. Then Varys tempts a traitor with money and blackmail. Tyrion, Missandei, and Grey Worm hang out. Cersei's new so-called wannabe maester, Qyburn, bribes Varys' old little birds, aka these children, by bribing them with sweets to come back, spy, and tell him secrets. Cersei shows up to the council meeting along with Jaime. Maester Pycelle, her uncle, and Olenna are all there, but the uncle is like, "I'm out." Along with the others, he's like, "We can't make you leave, but you can't make us stay either, so see ya." This part was actually really funny because they don't respect Cersei, especially the uncle. Like, he gives 0 Fs. And, he's like, "If you're gonna come here and not leave, I can't make you leave, but you also can't make me stay, so deuces." And we all know how Cersei is. She's just like, in a way, thinks that she can get whatever she wants. The Septon has a talk with Tommen, and Arya is still being beaten up by the girl. She actually gets her sight back. Next scene, Rickon is captured, and the wild woman, Osha, is given to Ramsay as a gift for alliance from another house. Lastly, Jon Snow talks to the 3 traitors before they are hanged, which is Ollie, Sir Alistair, and another guy. But Sir Alistair is so petty. He's like, even all the way to the end, he just tells Jon Snow, "I have nothing really to say. You'll be fighting their battles forever." And Ollie looks at Jon with pure hatred. Afterwards, Jon is basically like, "I'm out. My watch is done." And I honestly don't blame him after all he's been through and all he did for them. He risked his life for them several times, and they stabbed him in the back. Not even in the back, they stabbed him in it. They just stabbed him up, which is so effed up. Episode 4, Book of the Stranger. Jon basically ready to get up out of there, and I don't blame him after all he went through, but then Sansa shows up, and they basically have a family reunion. Sansa and Jon share a moment of old memories, and Sansa's like, "We need to take back our home, or we will never be safe." But Jon is tired, and it's valid because he was betrayed by his own Night's Watch after he did everything for those ungrateful bums. But Sansa's like, "We have to take back our home, and I would do it with or without you if need be." Brienne sees the Red Woman talking to Sir Davos and tells them she executed Stannis after Davos learns the Red Woman did her blood magic to kill Renly. Next scene, the Aryan boy is like, Robert Aryan is like, "I will help Sansa since she is my family," to Peter, who brings him this new bird. Up next, Tyrion makes peace with the enemies of the people or something on those lines, and the people of Meereen are basically pissed. Grey Worm tells them, "The slaves will use you, not the other way around," and this is one time that Tyrion should have actually listened because they know and have more experience with masters, being that both Grey Worm and Missandei were once slaves themselves. Daario sees Mormont's scales and says, "You know what happens." And Mormont responds, "I know what happens." And they make it to the place where Daenerys is captured to rescue her. Skip scene to Margaery in the chamber, aka the hole, basically to confess, confess, confess. She's eventually brought to the Sept, and Margaery gets to Loras, her brother, and he's in tears. He's basically like, "I want it to stop. Just make it stop, please." After she tells him he has to be strong, he's like, "I want it to be over. Like, just make it stop. I was never strong." Cersei, next up, ends up making a truce with Olenna to get Margaery back from the High Sparrow. Next scene, Theon tells his sister Yara that he wishes to help her rule the Iron Islands. The wild woman Osha, who was captured with Rickon, is killed by Ramsay after she tries to seduce him. Later, we see Tommen is really into Brienne, and he kind of has this love at first sight thing going on. He just looks at her and chews and gives her like this eyebrow raise. Jon and Sansa get a letter from Ramsay threatening them and telling them that he has Rickon, and Sansa is like, we gotta fight and save our brother, and asks the Northerners for help. Queen Khaleesi ends with setting ablaze her enemies, the Dothraki men, and she walks out of the flames unburnt, and everyone bows to her feet, including Mormon and Dario, and all the people. Episode 5, The Door. Peter Baelish meets up with Sansa, and she tells him, go, I never want to see you again. But he tells her to seek out more help just in case she needs an army. Next, Arya is sent on a mission to poison an actress and prove herself worthy. She's not happy about how they really made Ned look in this play, this town's play. They basically make him look like a buffoon, and the disrespect was wild. Basically, she had to rewatch him being beheaded. Arya then tells Jaqen and Hagar she agrees to face the many face gods, and he's like, a servant does not ask questions. I tried to do his voice. I tried. Bran learns that the White Walkers were created by the children of the forest to protect them from him and men like him. Theon vouches for Yara to take the lead, and surprisingly, everyone is on board until their uncle Euron shows up, and he's like, yeah, I killed y'all dad. I did it. Y'all leader, the king. Oh, they're still letting this man lead them, even though he's a traitor, and they're just stupid, and they have absolutely no respect either, because if somebody came up here and was like, yo, I killed your king, they're supposed to be reprimanded. Like, what? Yara Greyjoy is a clown, absolutely, and most certainly not fit to be anyone's king or lead anyone. Next scene, Ser Jorah assures Khaleesi his scales, and she's like, I command you to find a cure and return to me, to stand by my side when I take the throne. No, Jorah is the realest alive, and one thing about him is he commits, he doesn't play, and he gonna find a way every single time. Next up, Bronn ends up luring the Night King to their location by sneaking a good transition, and the old man is like, it's time for you to become me, even though you aren't ready, basically. Sansa and Jon go, and Ed is left to be Lord Commander, which is kind of funny because they're like, should we close the date, Lord Commander? And he's like, I'm not your Lord. Then he realizes, actually, he's been left in charge to be Lord Commander. Worthy character to get the opportunity to be Lord Commander. Although I believe he dies in the book, I think. Spoiler alert. A bit soon. The White Walkers have arrived. Meanwhile, Mira is trying to wake up Bronn, who is still in the memory realm. Bronn's wolf gets killed in battle, and the old man ends up getting killed once the White Walkers get in. And we ultimately see how Hodor came to be such a tragedy to witness in this episode. It's almost as if basically kind of like Bran going into that realm messed up something in the past or future, or something got askewed, and Hodor basically kind of had a seizure and changed his life forever. Episode 6, Blood of My Blood. Mira and Bronn are out on the run from the White Walkers, and Uncle Benjen shows up. Gilly meets Sam's mother and sister right before Sam tells her not to do so. Not to mention she's a wildling because the dad hates wildlings. Sam's dad finds out eventually that Gilly is a wildling, and he's basically furious. Sam tells Gilly, let's go, we're out of here. Arya is still watching the play of King Joffrey's death, but she eventually meets the lady and they talk. Arya ends up saving the lady that she was supposed to kill with the poison, and she was gonna give her, and she smacks it from her grasp. Unfortunately, she was being watched the whole time, and she failed the test. Then Tommen joins forces with the Septons to protect the realm, to answer to the gods and protect his queen. He gets rid of Jaime as his Kingsguard. One of the lords is being used as bait by Wilderfrey, Edmure, or someone who's using him as bait to send back home to his dad, Lord Edmure. Jaime is pissed about what just happened with Tommen's decision in the Septon, the Sparrow, basically winning this part of the game. But Cersei is like, I got something on my sleeve. Like, so just chill. I got a plan. It ends with Daenerys giving her people the speech they need to get ready to fight while on her dragon. Episode 7, The Broken Man. This episode opens up with the Hound, and he's out with this group he found. The guy from the group, the leader, says to the Hound, "I thought you were dead when I found you, till you coughed." Then he asks, "What keeps you going?" And the Hound is like, "Hate." That's what keeps me going. Honestly, of course, the Hound would say that. Makes so much sense. Next, Margaery meets her grandmother. Basically like, "We need to go. What is wrong with you? Like, we need to go." Margaery sends her a message that everything will be okay, and she has a plan by giving her a rose picture drawing. Tormund, in the next scene, vouches for Jon Snow, and he gets the Free Folk as allies for the war to come. Jon is like, "Will they come?" And Tormund is basically like, "Unlike y'all Northerners, when we say we're gonna do something, we do it." Next, Olenna and Cersei have a meeting. Olenna basically tells Cersei she's truly vowed, and she doesn't hold back. She tells her that she lost, and the only good thing that's happening is the fact that she lost. Yeah, she does not care. And she tells her that she basically needs to accept that she lost and take the L. The Lannisters are at Lord Edmure's place, where the Freys are out threatening to kill his son. And Lord Edmure literally does not even care. Like, he don't care at all. He comes to take over and has them all under his command, basically. Next, Jon, Sir Davos, and Sansa go to Lady Lyanna Mormont for allegiance. Davos convinces her, and she ends up blending some men. Lord Edmure tells Jaime, basically, "I'm not leaving, and if you have a problem, you can wait 2 years, because we got time, because I'm not leaving my home." One thing about the elders on here, they don't give two F's, they're not messing around, and they are not scared. Jon eventually goes to gather more allies, but they're like, no. He goes to ask House Glover, but the guy is basically like, "I don't fight assault wildlings." And then Sansa calls him out, but he's still like, "Nah. I served House Stark and it's dead, so deuces. No thanks." Next, Yara gives Theon a pep talk. Then Arya is attacked by the girl again. She ends up being stabbed, left wounded to seek shelter, and she starts looking for a place to hide. Lastly, it ends with the group being killed that the Hound was with, and he picks up the axe. Revenge time. And he did say that revenge was his motivator, so he going out on a hunt to find out who killed them. Episode 8, No One. So, opening act of the play, the actor Lady Crane, she's doing her lines over the kid playing Joffrey and acts out his death. She gets a standing ovation. She finds Arya and patches her up, and Arya is given milk of the poppy, and she goes straight to sleep so that she can heal. Hound ends up killing some trifling guys. The Septon's people come to threaten Cersei, and the mountain chops off one of their heads, basically. Brienne visits Jaime and asks to get over the wall to speak to Lord Edmure, and Jaime approves, but Lord Edmure is basically like, "Yeah, nah, I see what Sansa is doing. She wants her home back, and I get it. I like her mother, but like I said, I'm not leaving my home." Tommen in the next scene approves this rule, basically that trial by combat is illegal, and the bootleg maester calls Cersei and tells her that his little birds found something he's been investigating. Next up, Missandei, Grey Worm, and Tyrion drink wine and make jokes until their enemies come. Jaime goes to Lord Edmure, or Edmund, and he tells him how he will basically do anything for Cersei, and he threatens him pretty much. Edmure, the son, gets in because of one of the guards lets him in the castle, even though Lord Edmure, the father, basically tells him that it's a trap and not to do it. They don't listen to him and have the nerve to give the son a look of disgust afterwards. The son, once allowed back in, lets the Lannisters take over, and the dad decides he's gonna just fight to the death because he not giving this up. And he tells Brienne to basically go back to Sansa, and he ends up fighting to the death. Next, Daenerys returns, and the Hound gets his revenge but runs into old pals aka the Brotherhood. Lady Crane is murdered, and the girl comes for Arya to finish what she started. But in the end, Arya stands tall and undefeated. She kills the girl and tells Jack and Hagar, who she is like, you try to get that girl to kill me. And she ends up telling him that he's like, the girl's finally no one. But she's like, I'm Arya Stark and I'm going home. And she walks out with her head high. 9, Battle of the Bastards. A war is going on in Meereen. Queen Khaleesi has Grey Worm take out 2 enemies to pay for their crimes. Tyrion is like, tell your people what happened here, and tell them what happened when Queen Daenerys and her dragons came to Meereen. I really tried to nail his voice. Jon and Sansa meet up with Dusty Ramsay Bolton. Ramsay tries to get the Starks to surrender, basically, and Sansa's like, she tells him that you're gonna die tomorrow, and Jon and Sansa end up arguing later about what to do, and she's like, if Ramsay wins, I'm not going back alive. Jon tells her, like, I'm gonna protect you, and she's like, no one can protect anyone. Jon Snow goes to talk to the Red Woman, and he basically tells her, don't bring me back, and she's like, I really don't have say on that, it's really up to the Lord of Light, just don't lose. Yara and Theon join forces with Daenerys, and the battle starts off. The Battle of the Bastards, with Ramsay letting Rickon go and telling him, yeah, go ahead, run to your brother. Go on. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you loose. Just go on, start running. And as he's, preparing to run and he starts running, meanwhile, Ramsay's basically trying to kill him the whole time and shooting arrows at him. Rickon gets killed. And that moment when Jon removes his belt and pulls out the sword, ready to die, right then and there in the fight. Beautiful, legendary, we love and stand in Jon Snow, the realest to ever live. I also can't deny that he's also really hot in this fight scene. So they were practically losing the war till the Knights of the Vale show up. Without them, they would have definitely lost. They would have died, but at least they would have died and went out fighting. Sansa shows up with the Knights of the Vale army, we know, with the help of Peter Baelish, who's also there too. Ramsay's salty, and he has the nerve to try to run and thought that he was going to get away. Jon ends up getting to him, beats him up to a bloody pulp until Sansa shows up, and they put him away, they lock him up, and then Sansa basically gets the revenge that she's been deserving of, and he ends up being tied to a chair and gets eaten before his dogs. Gets killed by his hounds, but right before he gets killed, the iconic line by Sansa where she's like, your words will disappear, your house will disappear, your name will disappear, all memory of you will disappear. And he dies. Good riddance, we don't care. I think he might have been worse than Joffrey, which says a lot because we all know that Joffrey was the worst of the worst. In the end, she watches him basically get killed and eaten, and like this cloak of darkness kind of covers her. Like half of her face is like really dark, but it shows how she felt, and I think it also shows what she held inside from the experience, the horrific experience that she had to go through when she was with him, and all the things that he did to her, and how she basically finally got justice that she deserved. So 10, The Winds of Winter. Cersei in her bag this season, and she goes out with a bang, literally, with a bang. Beginning of her era, and first, she sets Margaery up and her family, gets one of the Septons killed by the kids, which is cold-blooded. The Maester, Martell, murdered. She has the last Septon in the room locked up like, confess, confess, confess. Then she ends up getting the Lady Great by Sir Gregor, which is so low and effed up. Tommen ends up killing himself because his wife's dead. Then she says, oh, just burn his body. Straight cold-blooded. And right before that, Jaime tells Wildfire, if we have to keep coming back to take it back, why do we need you? Straight to his face, plays him. Next scene, Sam makes it to the place to become a maester. Sir Devils confronts the Red Woman about what she did to the little girl, burning her alive at the stake, and tells her to tell Jon Snow the truth. Poor Sir Devils, to see him upset about it, was the only one who cared about the poor girl. Jon tells Sansa she should have their parents' room and that they have to trust one another because they already have too many enemies as it is, and they can't have a war amongst each other. Sansa declares winter is here. Olenna in the next scene gets invited to Dorne by the Sand Snakes, and she basically puts the two girls in place like grown women are talking, so basically shut up. They form an alliance. Then Lord Varys comes out and he offers another alliance with Blood and Fire, aka Daenerys, to Olenna. Daenerys tells Dario he can't come with her and has to stay where he is to help the people maintain the peace and choose a leader. He's upset, of course, but he loves her, so. And she ends up telling Tyrion that she felt absolutely nothing when she told him that. And he's like, there will be more fish in the sea, basically. Arya comes through with the quickness. She ends up killing Will Frey, slits his throat with the iconic line, the last thing you will ever see is a Stark raining down on you as you die. Peter tells Sansa, I want to be on the throne with you by my side. He basically plants a seed in her mind about Jon just being a bastard, and she should be on the throne because she is a Stark, not a bastard, and the true heir. Uncle Benjen leaves Bran and Meereen because he can't pass through the wall's magic. Bran discovers the truth about who the baby was that his aunt Lyanna gave to Ned, is known as his brother Jon Snow, as we all know is really a Targaryen. But my next thought was, why did that baby look so stressed out and is supposed to be a newborn baby? Probably from being on set. I'm sure it stretches those babies out. Next, Lyanna Mormont vouches for Jon as her king. She's a badass. Lady Mormont is basically gangsta. After that, everyone joins in. One by one, they're chanting unanimously, the King of the North. Peter Baelish is over there in the corner, plotting and scheming with this look that he gives Sansa. Cersei ends up being crowned queen, but honestly, I don't get it. I don't get why she wants to be crowned. All her kids are dead. Her family's basically dead, gone. It's only her and Jaime. What is there left to rule, really? But then also I'm like, it seems pointless, but to even rule the throne. But when I think about the Hound, when he was like, is basically bitterness of spite and hate, I'm sure that motivates her in this time, and she's probably like, I might as well go out with a bang. And then it ends with Queen Daenerys on her way to claim her throne with her squad.